What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 120 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Wednesday, November 5th, 2025. I'm your host, Zach Mallow. But before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off in the world of football as the New York Jets had one of their busiest trade deadlines in franchise history. They make two monster moves that stunned the NFL world and shocked the Jets fan base. We'll start off with the first one that happened early on Tuesday afternoon as the Jets stunningly send their two-time All-Pro cornerback Sauce Gardner to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for two first-round picks along with Colts wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. A stunning move for the Jets, and one that, if you look back 4 months ago when the Jets gave Sauce Gardner a 4-year, $120.4 million contract extension, you really would have been shocked 4 months later when they trade him to the Indianapolis Colts. But I think it's a great move for the Jets. You look at them right now, 1-7 on the year. The defense has not been great this year. They also have a new regime in there with Darren Muji as well as Aaron Glenn. It's time to switch things around and go to your type of system and your type of team if you're Muji and Glenn. And this was an offer that really not many guys get. You're looking at Micah Parsons a couple of months ago, traded to the Green Bay Packers for the same two first-round picks as well as a player. The Colts give that up. Of course, the player in Kenny Clark versus Adonai Mitchell. But A.D. Mitchell, a guy that really hasn't gotten going so far in his NFL career. He was wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 in Indianapolis the last couple of years. And this guy is only 23 years old, a guy that can really help this team in the wide receiver room that's really been devastated by injury and really is full of veterans behind Garrett Wilson. So you're looking towards the future, and A.D. Mitchell is a guy that you could really get going in this offense for a future quarterback down the road or even a stopgap quarterback right now in Justin Fields. So the Jets end up making that move, and you look at the first round picks that they get as well. You're really setting yourself up for success and setting yourself up for a lot of draft capital as well as a lot of cap space. Those are two important things for a new regime to get involved in. Cap space, draft capital is really a perfect match for Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji after the move in Sauce Gardner. But the Jets were not done on Tuesday afternoon. They send their star defensive tackle Quinnen Williams to the Dallas Cowboys. They, in return, get a 2027 first-round pick, whether it's going to be the higher one of Green Bay as well as Dallas's picks, as Dallas has two first-rounders in 27. One of them, of course, they just gave to the Jets. They also give away a 2026 second-rounder along with defensive tackle Maisie Smith, who also a young player, has not gotten going, a first-rounder, a former first-rounder for Dallas from a couple of years ago. They end up giving up Quinnen Williams for a package that is really just way too hard to pass up. A guy that did not want to be there, really staged his concerns year after year and said he wanted out multiple times from this Jets franchise. You end up turning Quinnen Williams, a guy who wanted out, into a first-round pick next year, along with a second round, as well as a former first-round pick and a player who still hasn't gotten going in his NFL career. That is a perfect match for what the Jets were looking for, and another offer that was just way too hard to pass up. This move, makes no sense on the Dallas side of things in my mind. A Dallas team that is now 3-5-1, coming off of a horrible loss against the Arizona Cardinals in front of their home crowd on Monday Night Football, and a team that really is going nowhere this year in terms of the NFC playoff picture. There's just no room for them at 3-5-1. Even if they mount a comeback in the playoff race, it's really going to be hard to get into the playoffs, and they trade a first-round pick next year for Quinnen Williams. You'll drive into the airport if you're a Jets fan, and like I said, a guy who wanted out, they end up getting a first, a second, and a player for him. Just a great job by Darren Muji and crew. And of course, a lot of the Jets faithful wants to see progress. They know a rebuild is coming, but they want to see a different type of rebuild, one that really is cleaner than it has been. And also, when you look at it, the Jets faithful wants to win soon. They don't want to wait year after year and some bad season after bad season. But when you look at this regime, it really all comes down to the quarterback, whether they draft one this year with certain guys guys coming into this draft. There's still a question mark, Dante Moore being one of them, Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. You also have Ty Simpson out of Alabama. Or you wait till next year, you build around your quarterback this year, and then you draft one next year into a perfect system, an already made system with a lot of draft capital in 2027. Now, 3 first-round picks the Jets have in a loaded 27 class. So the Jets really setting themselves up for the next couple of years to really put that rookie quarterback or young quarterback in a great spot in this offense. And you got to keep guys in Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall right next to him. Those are 2 guys that were talked about in trade talks apparently in the last couple of days. Garrett Wilson, it felt like there was no chance that the Jets would give him up. Seems really untouchable, as a lot of reporters would say. And Breece Hall, a guy that really hasn't gotten going in the last couple of years, a guy that the Jets really refused to use in big moments in this offense. He ends up staying with the Jets, even though he wanted out. Of course, it's been a rough go of it for Breece in the last couple of seasons, but the Jets were only offered apparently a 4th-round pick for Breece Hall. That is nothing compared to what you're able to get from Breece Hall if he is healthy and a big part of the offense. So they end up keeping him. I really like that from Muji. They didn't get their price, so they're not going to sell. Another guy that they didn't sell was Jermaine Johnson on the defensive side of the ball. They ended up not getting the offer they wanted. This is also a guy who really hasn't gotten to peak shape just yet. He's coming off a major injury with that Achilles tear a season ago, and this is a guy whose value can still skyrocket up to the moon right now if he stays healthy and on the field. So a really interesting couple of years now for the Jets, as they have plenty of draft capital, plenty of cap space. It really comes down to now the moves that Darren Muji as well as Aaron Glenn make. Of course, the quarterback being one of them. But the rest of this season, I mean, it's just all downhill from there. The Jets probably going to win a couple of games, knowing the Jets. They trade their guys, they end up winning a couple. That's how it works with this Jets team in the past. But right now, you got to be very happy with what the Jets were able to do on deadline day. They trade Sauce Gardner, they trade Quinnen Williams, and I know it hurts for this fan base, but the future is very bright with the capital and the cap space that they were able to get on deadline day. So the next couple of games, the Jets face off against Cleveland this weekend at MetLife Stadium. So there's going to be a lot of noise there, but some difficult games coming up, and the Jets really are throwing this season away at 1-7. You got to see some progress now with Justin Fields and this offense to really set them up for a bright future in the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens, but the Jets make 2 monster moves, and they go into this matchup against Cleveland on Sunday. We'll preview that game on Friday's episode. But on the other side of New York, the Giants did not make a lot of noise on deadline day, but they did make a lot of noise in their game on Sunday at MetLife Stadium, and it was not very good noise as the San Francisco 49ers came to town. They won that game 34-24, completely trucked through this Giants defense that has been very frustrating to watch over the last couple of weeks. 380 total yards, including 159 on the ground for the Niners, and Christian McCaffrey had a field day at MetLife Stadium. 28 carries, 106 rushing yards, along with a touchdown, as well as 5 receptions, 67 yards, and a receiving touchdown on 6 targets. It was all about him in back-to-back weeks where the Giants have gotten trucked by the opposing running back. Of course, it was Saquon Barkley, an old friend, a week ago when they went down to Philadelphia. So the Giants really cannot stop a nosebleed on the defensive side right now, and that's really not a recipe for success. And Brian Daboll is just trying to save his job here. Now 2-7, and even though the Giants have dealt with a load of injuries, it's come to the point where the Giants have to win games. They have to win some games with Jackson Dart at quarterback. They have to win some games with Brian Daboll as head coach. And the defense being bad is partly on Brian Daboll. And that's really what it comes down to. They have to step up, and he has to step up and get this team going. They have been really bad the last couple of weeks, on a losing streak right now. 3 games it's up to, but 2 wins is not going to do it for John Mara. He's going to fire him very quickly. He'll also fire Joe Schoen. This is their last chance. This is their last opportunity to keep their jobs, and it's not going to be pretty, as the next couple of games are not easy. They go on the road to Chicago this weekend, and we'll preview that game on Friday's episode. But after that, Packers, Lions, Patriots, Commanders. I mean, those 4 teams right there are tough opponents. Of course, we'll see with the Commanders whether Jaden Daniels will be available in that game or not. But even the 3 before that, Packers, Lions, Patriots, 3 of the best teams in football right now. A couple of those games on the road up in Detroit and up in New England. The Giants got to win a couple of those games and say, okay, we have something here with Jackson Dart paired with Brian Daboll. I know the Giants offense is struggling as well, trying to figure things out at running back, especially with no Cam Scatterbo now. At receiver, they're really desperate for somebody to step up. They got a couple guys in Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton really taking on the load and getting a lot of the possession catches and helping out their quarterback. But the Giants really have nothing on the offensive side of the ball that gives you confidence except for their quarterback. That's really what it comes down to. If Jackson Dart is using his legs, he's getting out of the pocket, he's moving around, he's a better quarterback, but he's got really no help on the offensive side of the ball, and you've seen that in the last couple of weeks. 2 tough defenses to go up against, of course, in Philadelphia as well as San Francisco, but San Francisco ravaged by injuries on the defensive side of the ball, still look like they dominated in this game on both sides of the ball. A 10-point win on Sunday at MetLife. So we'll talk about the Bears game, like I said, on Friday's episode, but it's going to be a long couple of weeks for this Giants team, especially Brian Daboll, who's trying to save his job with just a couple of weeks to go in the NFL season. Let's shift things to basketball as the New York Knicks are in action tonight. A 7:30 start at MSG as they welcome the Minnesota Timberwolves to town, and the Knicks come into this game as 4.5-point favorites, total sitting at 226.5. Knicks in the midst of a 7-game homestand. This is game 3 of that homestand, and the Knicks really looking to probably win 6 of those 7 games. They got some tough opponents coming up. Orlando and Miami come to town later in the homestand, but a lot of easy games. They've been really good at home so far this year, 4-0, all of their wins on their home floor. Couple of great wins to start the year against Boston and Cleveland, and they have back-to-back wins against Chicago as well as Washington in the last couple of days. Big stories coming into tonight is the game time decisions for both teams. One side for the Knicks, you have Karl-Anthony Towns, and he's probably going to play, but he's been a game time decision really every single game so far this season. Still dealing with an issue and has to really solve it. But on the other side is the bigger story. Anthony Edwards is the game time decision for Minnesota, and he's missed the last week or so due to a hamstring injury. Looks like he could come back for tonight's game. Of course, the lights are bright at MSG. It's a ESPN game in this one, and the Knicks have to handle business, because if they don't, Anthony Edwards can really attack this team. He's going to put up plenty of points, and the Knicks have to stop him on the defensive side. The Knicks have been really a lot better recently. When you talk about the bench scoring that I mentioned on the previous episode, that was a weakness for this Knicks team coming into the year without Malcolm Brogdon, without some of the other guys that they've been missing, Mitchell Robinson being a key figure to that and not being in the starting lineup for a lot of the early part of the season. Him coming back pushes Deuce McBride to the bench, and the Knicks bench with Jordan Clarkson as well as Landry Shamet, even Deuce McBride, has looked a lot better in recent days. They've really stepped up, and they have to continue that if they want to go further into the playoffs down the road. Obviously, it's really early right now, only 7 games into the season, but that's a big talking point for this Knicks team. And can they solve that problem from a year ago? We really have to find out in the next couple of weeks or so if they can really get that together. And they've done a good job. Like I said, in the last couple of games, they've really faced, you would say, lesser opponents. I know Chicago's been red hot this year, but not a team that you really expect near the top of the Eastern Conference. You're probably expecting them more middle of the pack as the season goes on. So the Knicks have a tough opponent tonight. Anthony Edwards may return, he may not, but the Minnesota Timberwolves at 4-3 travel to MSG to take on the 4-3 Knicks. It's a 7:30 start tonight at Madison Square Garden. But that will do it for episode 120 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malum, thanks for watching, and talk to you all on Friday.